I'm Brittany Gill. Oh, it's reporting. Got it. I'm Brittany Gill. I work for the Community Housing Improvement Project for CHIP. And thank you so much, Alicia, for having me, for the Carpenter's Boat Shop for hosting this and giving the opportunity to highlight different things in our community, and including something like CHIP. I really appreciate that. And thank you all for coming out tonight, being part of this conversation. I hope you brought with you a little bit of curiosity. What goes on behind the scenes at CHIP? How can you maybe get involved in CHIP or make a difference in your community? I've brought with me some stories, some pictures, a little bit of context of the housing situation in Maine, of the fuel situation here locally and beyond. I want to take just a moment of gratitude for the legacy that Ruth Ives created. She's the founder of CHIP and worked relentlessly to build relationships and to serve our community for over 2 decades as part of CHIP, but served and built those relationships in many other ways as well. There are 2 other people I want to mention tonight. There are many, many people who have made CHIP what it is today. But 2 people have made their way into these slides that are no longer with us. Darcy Austin and Bill Bausch both passed away. They both died this winter. And they were engaged in CHIP, came out to Community Cares Day. And so their pictures are in our files. And I appreciate all the people who have made CHIP what it is today. So our mission at CHIP is neighbors helping neighbors stay safe, warm, and dry. And the neighbors helping neighbors part, that's the stories, those are the relationships, and those relationships are built through action. And that action is staying safe, warm, and dry. And to achieve that, we have 2 different programs. One is seasonal heating relief or fuel relief, and one is essential home repairs. And we do these programs for people that are struggling to meet those needs themselves. So who is that? Those are people that we might say are poor. They're in poverty. They don't have enough money. They can't meet their own needs because of physical or financial challenges. They have stress. They have long-term health consequences. But poverty is more than just being poor or stressed. Just because they don't have money doesn't mean they are without everything. So there's 2 articles I saw recently that I felt like exemplified this. One was about innovators, and one of the innovators says, innovations come because you have some kind of difficulty or conflict. It stretches you a lot to be more creative. Creativity. If anybody saw Waldoboro Voices in the Lincoln County News a couple weeks ago or last week, there is a woman who is featured who has had incredible difficulty and pain to overcome in her life and has still done remarkable things. Resilience. I had a recent conversation with a woman, and she told me about a story of going to ask for help and was told that she didn't qualify for that program. And in the same breath, the administrator told her that maybe she should budget better. And she was relaying this story to me and said, "Oh, it made me so mad. Just because I'm poor doesn't mean I'm stupid. I get a small amount of money every month. I have to be careful with every penny. Of course I budget. I have to budget." resourceful. People are creative, resilient, resourceful, courageous, helpful, make contributions. There's so many people I work with that are taking care of grandkids, of foster kids. I know a woman who knits constantly and gives away her knitting to fundraisers. I know a man who proudly told me how he donated $10 to a fund at Hannaford's. It was going to feed 100 people, 100 meals. And he was so proud. He wanted to be helpful. So it's a matter of taking a chance to listen to people's stories. So I have a story for you. It's about a fishing family, and they had a medical emergency and weren't able to put their boat in for the whole summer. So that meant they didn't have an income. They spent a lot of time at the hospital. And the family member who had the medical emergencies came home with physical limitations. The house was a bit of a disaster, having been unkept for several months. There were bills that were unpaid. There were modifications that were needed, so this family member could get around the home. And so here is a family that will call and ask CHIP for help, right? This is the home, we do home repairs. This is our, so they'll call and ask for help, but it turns out that it's not always easy to ask for help. Sometimes people are just too busy. You can imagine having spent the summer in the hospital and coming home and trying to figure out which end is up, and it's just too much to add one more thing to your list of things to do, even if it will make a difference in your life. It's a risk to ask for help. What if somebody says no? And what if you're not sure how it works, or if you'll qualify, or maybe you make a mistake in how you ask? Asking for help can also change your perception of yourself. Can you be resilient, resourceful, creative, and ask for help? So this family did not call me, but a neighbor did. A neighbor called and she said, I would love to help this family. Maybe CHIP can help this family. Can you go and do these home repairs for them? And I said, well, our program, first we have to make contact with the family. And I do a little over the phone interview and a site visit and prioritize whether it's a good fit. Do we have the funding? And then we'd assign volunteers. But it sounds like this family could be a good fit. But the first step is we really need to make that contact. We have to have a relationship with a family. It turns out you can't just go over to somebody's house and make some home improvements for them without first talking with them. So we decided that she would have the family call me. She would give them the CHIP number, and I waited, and I didn't hear anything. And I still didn't hear anything. We finally reconnected, the neighbor and I said, what if you were able to give me their information and I could call them? And maybe they would be, maybe that would be easier. And so she got their permission, she got their phone number. I gave them a call and the phone rang and rang and rang. No answer. I called again, it rang and rang and rang. No answer. It rang and rang, no voicemail box. I couldn't get through. So the neighbor and I connected another time and she says, try now, call now. And the family answered and we connected and they were so relieved, so hopeful, so pleased to have somebody who cared to talk with. The timing was right. And so CHIP was able to make the repairs to their house. We did tangible, safe, warm, and dry repairs. As you can see, we made a very simple railing was enough to help the family member that needed to have the home be more accessible. There were some major plumbing leaks that had developed while they were away. So we ended up installing a new toilet and sink. Um, and there was a new window. And then there's the neighbors helping neighbors. So we have the very tangible, hands-on repairs. And then there's the neighbors helping neighbors. It was the neighbor who called and said, how can we help? And it was the family that said, yes, we need help. The family actually said to me, I was nervous about having people in my house, but they were having such a good time. They were laughing, making fun of each other. Pretty soon, we all felt comfortable. That is neighbors helping neighbors. We had another volunteer go who had grown up in unstable housing himself. He made a really special connection with the family, with their kids, and ended up carving them homemade lobster boats. That's neighbors helping neighbors. That's building relationships. That is what CHIP is founded on. So we have two programs, home repairs and heating. And today we can almost imagine it's spring, but let's dive into our seasonal fuel relief program, our heating relief program. You can imagine that people still might need fuel relief. In fact, you might be able to imagine that they need fuel relief all year long. But we just focus our fuel relief November through March. We do 100 gallons, 1 quart of wood or electrical or equivalent 1 time per heating season. And I want to back up just a second and talk about how the heating, the fuel system works, the heating fuel. So in many parts of the country, there's a network of pipes, and there's a central place that then pipes, say, natural gas to homes. And you don't have to order your own fuel. But here in Maine, we don't have a network, so each house is independent. And if you look at your gauge and you're low, or you need to decide you need to order fuel, you call up your fuel company and they deliver fuel to your house and fill up your tank so you can heat your home. Now, if you have a basement, it's likely that you have what's called fuel oil or #2 fuel. And the basement is a protector. It keeps away the severe cold temperatures. And so that #2 fuel will not gel during the really cold temperatures. Otherwise, if it was exposed to the really cold temperatures, it would gel. But if you don't have a basement, you need a fuel that can be stored outside in those really cold temperatures. That it's not going to gel no matter how cold it gets, that it's still going to get to your furnace and warm you up. And so it needs to be highly refined. And you can imagine a highly refined fuel is going to be expensive. And kerosene, which is that fuel, is one of the most expensive fuels that you can use. So why would people use K1? Well, or kerosene? It's because they don't have a basement. They have to store their fuel outside. Many people who don't have a basement live in a mobile home. And many people who live in a mobile home have less financial resources. So we've established that K1 or kerosene is the most expensive fuel. That's the dark blue line on this chart at the top, and it's about $1 more per gallon than fuel oil, which is the lighter blue line. So say you burn 100 gallons per month, and that's $100 more per month. A 6-month, more or less, heating season is $600 more per year for somebody that uses kerosene. But what I wonder is, can we make this fuel that is the most expensive fuel even more expensive? And it turns out we can. So you have 100-gallon, for most companies, there's 100-gallon minimum delivery. This year, it was about $450 for a 100-gallon minimum delivery. And last year at the peak, you can see those nice sharp peaks there on the graph. It hit $750 for a 100-gallon minimum delivery. And after you've paid your mortgage, your food, your electric, your internet, your car repair, maybe you don't quite have enough for that 100-gallon minimum delivery. And what if there was a death in the family, or a change in employment, a birth, a divorce, a hospitalization, or extended illness? What if you moved? What if you bought a frivolous gift for Christmas? What if your child is addicted to drugs? What if you're bad at budgeting? What if you're good at budgeting, like we learned, and there just simply isn't enough? These are all very real scenarios that I have talked to people in every one of these situations. Now, if you can't meet that 100-gallon delivery, there's some options. Maybe you can get a smaller delivery for a fee. Maybe by the time you've gotten all your money together, you've run out of fuel, and there's a fee for an emergency delivery. Maybe you do what most people do in this situation, and you get some 5-gallon jugs, and you drive to the store for some money, and you fill up those 3 5-gallon jugs more at the pump than they'd cost bulk rate. And then you drive home and repeat every 3 days. So maybe you knew it was expensive to be poor, but here is just one example of how it is expensive to be poor. So the good news is that we have a flawed but significant system to help people pay for fuel. It's a system called LiHEAP. You may have heard of it. It's administered locally by CAP agencies. Our agency is the Mid-Coast Maine Community Action. It's federally funded, and also Maine Housing plays a role in the administering. And it serves families on a qualifying scale, and they make a crucial and huge impact in our communities. They serve thousands of people just within our region. But the system, like any system, is imperfect. And those gaps is where CHIP comes in. One of the big picture gaps, we have heard about budgeting. The federal government isn't able to pass the budget. That has real life consequences for people that are on LiHEAP, because if that budget isn't passed, the LiHEAP funding is not released until that budget is passed. Now, there's also personal reasons why somebody might not get LiHEAP funding. It's a huge program. The administration can take a lot of time, and so somebody can run out of fuel before their application goes through. It can take months for your application, your interview, and then application to be worked through. Maybe you've never applied before, so it takes a while to sort of figure out how the system works. Maybe you've moved, so your application becomes invalid. Maybe you're over the income limit, but you're experiencing a financial strain or emergency that isn't immediately acknowledged by that system. And so LiHEAP is an important system that helps people cover their fuel needs, and it's programs like CHIP that can help cover that gap. I want to tell you about some more good news in the fuel world. Maine is putting money and energy into getting people heat pumps. Previously, they had rebates through Efficiency Maine, and it was inaccessible really to the lowest income households, the rebates were. But very recently, this fall, I think even it was, that they have started designing these rebates to be geared towards low-income households. They are designed specifically for the low-income households. So a little story, I had a family call, they had no heat. Sometimes we help fix a furnace that's broken, an emergency, and the federal system can't help. But I had heard about the efficiency main rebates, and it was still fall, so I felt like there was a little time to experiment. And I said, what if instead of replacing your furnace, which it sounded like their whole furnace needed to be replaced, what if we tried to see if we could replace it with a heat pump? And I worked with the family and a case manager, and they applied and were able to get a whole house heat pump, and the rebate covered the entire cost. So the benefits of that are multifold. The heat pump electric use is more cost efficient than kerosene. It's more efficient, period, than a furnace. And you're not vulnerable to running out of kerosene. You can't shut off electricity during the heating months for a household if their bills haven't been paid. So there's not that vulnerability. You can still rack up a very good electric bill, but you don't have that vulnerability of not knowing where that fuel is coming from. And there is federal support to expand this program. And so one of my goals is to encourage and support more low-income families in getting heat pumps. I want to give you a little bit of a season overview for our heating assistance. We serve over 200 households a year. This year, at the end of February, we were at 223 households. Our peak was last year with 285 households. And the maybe irony, I guess, is that the demand was so high because the cost was so high. And so it meant we were paying an awful lot helping people, but we were able to meet the demand. We were able to serve those 285 people because people in this community saw the need, heard the need, and responded. I'm so blessed to be in such a responsive, sharing community. So part of our fuel program is firewood. We do about 10 to 20 of those requests are firewood. And our firewood program is run by a group of really compassionate, talented volunteers. And they procure and process, saw and split and stack and deliver. And the beautiful part about this is the relationships, not only within the crews that do the work, but the connections that they make. And I'll tell you a story. There was a woman who called, whose firewood supply in one of the winter storms with all the rain had flooded her basement. That's where all the firewood was. And it flooded the basement, flooded the firewood, and she had nothing to heat with. So she was using her oven. And we were able to get a volunteer over there with a cord of wood in his truck. And she came running out of her house with her gloves on as soon as he was there, jumped into the truck, ready to unload. And he said, no, no. She said, oh, yes, I'm going to help. And he said, come on down. So she came down and they talked a little bit. And he said, watch this. And he pressed a little button and the wood just dumped right out just where she wanted it. And she took that wood and ran right inside to light her stove and turn off the oven. We had another man. He was a blind man. He is a blind man. And instead of doing one big load, we had 2 loads. And in between the 2 deliveries, which were a couple weeks apart, this blind man had stacked and sorted all of his firewood. And it's just a little reminder that the people we serve are strong, creative, helpful. They just need some help. We all need some help sometimes. And sometimes people need help with some home repairs. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about our home repair side of things. And I'd like to start in the same way with a little bit of the bigger picture. Why do so many houses need essential home repairs? You may have heard about the affordable housing crisis. You can call it a crisis or by some other name, but people have become pretty aware that we need more affordable housing. We have plenty of market rate housing. If you're willing to buy at the prices, the houses are generally available. But the question sort of is, well, what actually is affordable? What is affordable housing? Well, the definition of affordable housing is that it takes a third or less of your income. So your rent or your mortgage is a third or less of your income. But actually, it's a little bit more than that. It also includes your taxes, your insurance, your utilities, your heat. All of those should be a third or less of your income. So let's take a real example. There's a senior, there's plenty of seniors living on a Social Security income of $1,200 a month. So a third of that would be a rent for $400 a month with everything included. It's just not available. So to me, affordable means subsidized. That kind of rental has to be subsidized. And we do have a program. There's a federal program called Section 8 housing. And like every big program, it takes time. The processing of applications takes time. There's a long wait list. And unfortunately, there's not enough homes or units that qualify, that you have to meet certain standards to have a home be a Section 8, be able to take Section 8 vouchers. So people use alternatives. They live in campers year-round. That's such a great idea, really vulnerable to house fires. The heating system in a camper is not meant to be used to heat against Maine winters. You could live with relatives. That can be great until it's not. You could build your own home. Also great if you have the land, if you know what you're doing, if you can live simply while the building is going on. So many people look to old homes, which can be cheap. They often have deferred maintenance. They can be expensive to heat, maybe not so cheap. Also, people look towards mobile homes. And for better or worse, mobile homes are an important part of our affordable housing system. It's the same as old houses, though. They're not always as affordable as the asking price. So I have a story of a couple, and they were in a situation where they had to leave the home they were living in. I believe it was being sold, and they had a deadline where they had to leave, and they had nowhere to go. They could not find something that was affordable to rent or to buy, and they felt extremely lucky because somebody came to them, or they were talking with somebody and said, "There's this mobile home. It's going to the dump. Would you like it?" So they were so relieved to have this home for free. They said yes, but it's not actually free. It costs $300 and $350 a month. They found a lot at a mobile home park, but it's $350 a month for that lot. It costs over $1,000 to move the mobile home to where it needs to go. Setting up skirting and steps is another $1,000. A home that was saved from the dump is essentially maybe not well insulated, has some problems that need to be corrected, and so both the heating and repair bills could be considerable. You can imagine. And this is why there are so many homes in need of repair and not enough affordably priced housing. So people turn to CHIP. Just to make a note here on, so for our home repairs, we this year, we start our fiscal year in April. So at the end of February, we had served about 89 different households doing home repairs. which includes 15 roofs. And on average, like looking back at past years, we have volunteers do about 60% of our repairs. And that volunteers are the foundation of our work. We have these are some of the things we have done most of: door replacements, exits, plumbing leaks, roofs, mobile home skirting. I want to introduce you to some of our volunteers. We just have such a talented crew. The regulars are a group of a self-formed group. They came to us with skills, with leadership, with energy, and they wanted to work 2 times per week most of the year and do repairs. And so this is an example. There was a woman who called and was concerned about her pregnant daughter getting in and out of the house. I thought maybe everybody should be concerned about getting in and out of the house. And this crew, here it is during the pandemic, and they masked up, but they were able to build her this beautiful set of steps so she and her family could get in and out of the house safely. And this crew just brings such compassion and skills and dedication. I feel really honored to be able to work with them. We also have other folks that work year-round, just like the regulars, just not as regularly. They respond to specific requests. I send out an email and try to form groups. Here we have a group that was just, I think this week even, that this crew, Bracken, Lucian, and Philip and Corey, put in a gravel walkway for a woman who was feeling really unsteady on her feet. She had a very muddy walkway, and this made all the difference for her. So we have individuals that are made into groups. We have groups like, here's the Carpenter's Boat Shop a couple years ago. They did a spring project with us. We had Twin Village Church has done projects with us. So sometimes we work with groups and sometimes individuals as well. We have a really long and lovely relationship with the Basking Ridge Presbyterian Church. They form a youth work camp that comes up to Maine. They've come up to Maine since 1985, and they bring up to 60 kids. That was sort of pre-pandemic. It's waned a little bit since COVID, but they come with their own skilled leaders and spend 1 week every summer doing projects for CHIP and other local nonprofits. There was one senior, they worked on her home. She was at risk of losing her home because of insurance needs. And the crew responded by repairing some of the rotted siding and made a real difference. Tangible, safe, warm, and dry. But can you guess? They also were that neighbor helping neighbors, where they brought joy. They brought this enthusiasm that can really bring hope and change a person's outlook and perspective. We have Community Cares Day. So Community Cares Day began in 2003. Mary Ellen Whalen was one of the big advocates and really has carried the torch from its inception forward to make sure it happens year after year. But Mary Ellen Whalen, Steve Bush, and others who were on the CHIP board at that time initiated Community Cares Day, and we have 100 people that help both that day and behind the scenes to repair homes, 10 to 12 homes around the community. We work with Stepping Stone and Lincoln Academy. And maybe you've been part of it. Maybe you've come and joined us for Community Cares Day and have stories of your own from these adventures. There'll be signups on our website this summer. So you're welcome to log on. Some people are on our emailing list, and we'll try to send out links for that as well so that you can join us. And for Community Cares Day, we try to have projects that are necessary for the homeowner, but also doable for a mixed skill group of volunteers. And so some examples would be skirting and steps and making a real difference through cleanup. Skirting, you've heard me say a couple times, you might have no idea what that is. If you are familiar with mobile homes, it wraps around the base of a mobile home and it protects the water pipes from freezing. It keeps out the wind, so pipes don't freeze. It keeps out animals. So it is an essential part to a mobile home. And we had done skirting for one family over Community Cares Day. And then remember last year when there was that big freeze? And I talked to a woman who had had her skirting done, and she said, you know what? It didn't freeze. My pipes didn't freeze. She was so pleased. And so it had made a real difference for her. And steps, of course, are obviously important, but many steps in our community are collapsing or insecure. Many homes don't have a second safe set of steps, which are important for emergency evacuation. Seniors may need improvements for handholds or people with physical challenges for ease of climbing or bringing in groceries. We had a man who received some steps for Community Cares Day, and he says, I love the new deck. Thank you. And there's lots of room for groceries. And I got a pumpkin to put on it. And so there is sometimes a real pride that comes with these sometimes small improvements to a home. So for Community Cares Day, we welcome all volunteers of all skill levels, and we ask that you bring some curiosity and be ready to serve, but not judge. And sometimes we have the chance to make a connection with the homeowner, with our crew. Sometimes a homeowner is shy or overwhelmed, and we don't make that connection, and that's okay too. But this day is really only possible when we have leaders, and leaders that are willing to share their home repair skills and to guide a group. And thank you, all the leaders that are out there, all the leaders you know who have helped lead and prepare these days. Please thank them because they give such a great gift to the community. And there's also leaders that plan and organize the day, and these are often board members that really help make it possible. An offshoot of Community Cares Day is window insert making. We were looking for a project that would engage students and still be very meaningful. So they made window inserts, which are a piece of a frame of wood, and on either side is plastic, and you push it into your window. And it's instead of blow drying on plastic, you can use this year after year, and actually the inch of space is what is the installative value. And we were able to build this year, I think over 40 inserts for 8 homes. It started in 2019 and has become an annual part of Community Cares Day, which ends with ice cream. We had a great connection a couple of years ago with Round Top, and they've given ice cream. So it's a lot of fun, a day together with friends and meeting new friends and serving in our community. So aside from the work volunteers do, we have contractors that we hire. Here on the right, contractors mostly are doing roofs, heating emergencies. And on the right, we have a roof. You can see the top is sort of wrinkly and curled shingles, and the bottom is all fresh and smooth. So here's what the homeowner said. Thank you for being so persistent to get my roof done. There were ridges and bumps and all that, and now it's nice and smooth. These guys did an awesome job, and thank you a lot for all that. You have been my angels. I was able to take the bag down from my bedroom over my bed, so now I don't have to worry about the rain coming through. It costs about an average of $8,000 per roof. This year we've done 15 roofs, and we're working on a few more. This is only possible through partnerships. It's possible through grants that board members work hard to receive. It's possible through a new partnership with Rebuilding Together and Habitat for Humanity that will donate $1,500 each towards roofs that qualify to their programs. It's possible because of a partnership with Horch Roofing that recently did a reduced rate for us and used new but leftover materials and pieced it together to put a roof on for a single mom who had terrible leaks in her roof. And we do this because we understand the importance of a roof. A leak in a roof can destroy a house and a family's spirits. So how is this all possible? Roofs, essential home repairs, seasonal fuel assistance. Like I've said, and I've shared in the pictures, volunteers are a huge foundation of what we do. We also have donors, and I hope you'll consider going to our website, making a donation online, or writing a check and contributing. This is what keeps us going. We have 10% of our budget, more or less, is from businesses, congregations, organizations. 25% is from grants, and 65% is from individuals. That is what makes our program keep going. That's what allows us to keep giving. And I would be remiss not to mention our board. We have an active board, and they do a lot of work behind the scenes, insurance, grant writing, developing new projects, outreach, organizing Community Cares Day. But the pictures you see here are our board members. They are also out on Community Cares Day, helping with the firewood. They are active in what we are doing, and I'm so proud of them for that. I think it makes our program so much stronger to have our board out in the field, active in that way. So that's neighbors, helping neighbors stay safe, warm, and dry. It's about making a tangible difference in people's lives. It's about building relationships. It's about respect. And it takes all of us working together. So thank you so much for having me. It's been a real pleasure, and I'd be happy to take questions. I think Alicia will help organize that.
So, Brittany, 45 minutes ago, I had gratitude for you, and my gratitude for you and what you do in the last 45 minutes it's at the top. So thank you for sharing all the, especially the parts behind the scenes. You know, I just get to show up at a Community Cares Day or a project, and thanks for connecting us with your story. So
yeah.
So folks, I know we have questions for Brittany. So if you want to, it would be awesome if you put it in our chat box, or you can always take yourself off mute and ask Brittany directly. I'm going to just start by, Brittany, is the easiest way to contribute to CHIP to go to your website? Is that the kind of fastest, easiest?
Yeah, you can go to the website. There's a donate page if you're comfortable with online giving, or you can do check PO Box 6 in Newcastle, 04553. Got your pens ready? You know, a small amount goes a long way. We have a lot of small donations that add up and make a big difference. And we have some people who are able to give generously, and that also makes a huge difference.
Thank you, Brittany.
I just want to jump in and thank you, Brittany. As close to CHIP as I've been over the years, I've never had the full picture. And this was a fantastic presentation. I hope it gets distributed throughout the county. I had two questions. One is, are there other CHIP-like groups that you collaborate with or know about for families that aren't within your designated area?
So Habitat, Seven Rivers, they do Sagadahoc in Lincoln County. And so we have some overlap, but they tend to be mostly in Sagadahoc. And like I said, they do support us in the roof repairs. Rebuilding Together works in Booth Bay. So as far as repairs, there are organizations out there. I think there's Home up in Orono, there's Mate. I'm not sure where that is located, but there's a week effort to get that. I've heard different people say, oh, I want to get the home repair agencies together and we can discuss our challenges and our successes. But I haven't, I've tried to create a little list, but there, if you do need resources, 211 is a great place to go. The CAP agencies do offer some home repair, and there's CAP agencies throughout Maine and throughout the states, but they I feel like are very limited. They can do a lot more per home, but they're very limited in how many homes they can reach. For fuel assistance, there's a lot of different programs. And again, it's calling 211 to find out what is in your specific area.
Right. The other question is, for someone in my category, which is aging quickly and not as agile on a ladder as I used to be, are there opportunities for volunteering that don't involve wielding a hammer or carrying over 50 pounds?
Yeah, I think there's two places. One is fundraising, and that can be creating an event where you let new people know about CHIP. It can be doing an event where people, the Oyster Creek Fiddlers this year are doing their dance, and it's the fundraising is sort of a sidelight, or the Battle of the Badges, where they did something that was really important to them, but the fundraising for CHIP is sort of the sidelight, a community event. So those things are really important, that people continue finding ways to give people, continue to give people ways to give. But also, if you have interest in board membership, we'd be happy to talk to people that about what might go on behind the scenes, and what kind of help might be good for that. I think Randy, who is one of our board members, might have some thoughts on that too.
Great,
Yeah.
thanks again.
At Community Cares Day, I had someone in their 90s on my site, and they were super helpful. They could lift 15 pounds, but very few of most of what we're moving around is over 10 pounds. And they can hold the other end of something. It's someone that I won't call them out but it's someone that almost all of you know, and because they have a long association with the boat shop and CHIP. And so, come on out to Community Cares Day, and you're welcome to be on my crew. I can use all of the people who can't lift more than 20 pounds and who don't want to swing a hammer. Thank you.
I'll hold you to that, Randy.
I'd love to have you on my crew.
Brittany? It's
Yeah.
Steve.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'd also like to say that, as old as we get, and I have to say, turned 84 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
But as old as we are, we can always, you don't have to get everything done. If you pick up a rake, it's easy to do that kind of stuff, and it's probably good for us to do it. So I think there are certainly ways that, beyond fundraising and all those things, which are very, very important, of course, that, older people can contribute on Community Cares Day.
Yeah, thank you. And Steve, actually, one of your, well, I don't know, just a couple years ago, even it was maybe 3, that I said, Steve, we need a crew leader. Could you step in and be crew leader? And so it's sort of organizing the crew and gelling them together, seeing what needed to happen and making sure people had water to drink. And we try to create that day
Can
that
I chime in?
people can be involved.
Yeah, right.
Brittany, in our chat is just a reminder for folks that there's always the option for folks to leave something in their will to nonprofit organizations as well. So just a reminder of another way to give that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you for that. That is, it makes a surprising difference. Something you don't always think about, but it does make a difference.
Well, I would say, I mean, I certainly have made a provision for CHIP in my will, and I would encourage everybody who really loves what CHIP does to do the same.
Oh, that's neat. Thank you, Steve.
Any other questions out there for Brittany?
I don't know if Corey would feel comfortable sharing his story. I see your face out there. If not, you can stay muted, but if you do, I think you just have such a beautiful story.
I would just add, Brittany, I'm sorry that I came into this late, the last 15 minutes. It kind of was in our dinner hour and whatnot, but I had it in my mind for a long time. So I came up and it was easy peasy to plug in.
Oh, great. Well, I'm glad you could join us for the bit you did, and I guess this will be posted on the Boat Shop YouTube channel, so you can watch and share anything you missed or wanted to enjoy again.
Thank you for the mention, Brittany. Be happy to share anything you wish.
Yeah, this is, I'll give you a little introduction. This is Corey, and I first worked with Corey a couple years ago on Community Cares Day, and he told us a story of both growing up with unstable housing, but Corey, I feel like now you have stable housing and have come to give back in ways that you can to the community, which is just so beautiful, but also it doesn't mean you're without struggles.
Yes, I grew up in a very poor situation. I was homeless for a lot of my younger years, and CHIP had helped my family through the years, and a lot of the people that I have met through the CHIP program was people that I know and personally know and grew up with. So that's very rewarding. And I have improved my life over the years, and I'm doing very well for myself. So I'd like to give back, and it's an awesome program. I'm very happy for the ability to do that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that I think we'd find that there's a lot of circles like that happen more than we know at first glance.
Oh, exactly. Right. I love what you guys do. It took me a lot of years to be able to get myself to try to include myself in something like this.
Mhm.
I finally got myself to do so, and oddly enough, 2020 was my first year with the CHIP program. You guys are awesome. You're very welcoming, and it's been a pleasure. And now I look forward to your emails. I look forward to all the chats and the helping, and I love it. I have since joined the firewood crew. They're a great group of guys. It's doing great work, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh, I see a little hand there from Susie.
Yes, Brittany, I would like to thank you so very much for the overview and taking us beyond just the actions of work to what the meaning is behind much of what Chip does. But I also would like at the same time to thank Alicia, to think what a wonderful program this is, both for all of us who've been able to be here tonight and thinking of it becoming available otherwise. I just think that the boat shop is doing a great job as you put this together. This was a great evening, and I thank you both.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. I echo that sentiment, Susie.
Anybody else out there that would like to ask Brittany a question?
Any real good stumpers or good stories? Maybe you have a story of your own that you want to share from Community Cares Day or doing firewood.
There's so many, I don't think there's enough time in the evening.
Right. Do you have one that stands out for you, Corey? A moment?
Well, to me, it was a story that you touched on earlier with a family in Bremen. You know, they had their child had a medical event. It just broke my heart. You know, I've known the people most of my life. Their family was connected to my family, and to see the child, and you know, and it was just heartbreaking. And I just felt so happy to be able to help them. You know, just before Christmas, get plumbing back into their home.
Yeah.
They had no running water in the bathroom or the kitchen or anywhere else, and it was very fulfilling. I mean, it was truly a Christmas story. It was really incredible.
Oh, yeah, right. I hadn't put it together with that being right before Christmas. That is a beautiful piece of it.
Yeah, it was really awesome. You know, and I had since seen them locally at the Hannaford and seen the kids running around being happy, and they took a moment to pause because they recognized me. We didn't talk, you know, they were just really young, and it was just happy to see them running around the store, pushing each other in the grocery cart, and it was incredible.
Being kids.
Yes, like they should be.
Yep, yep. That's fantastic.
I'm happy to share that Basking Ridge will be returning this summer, and at kind of post-COVID, their numbers continued to grow, and
Great.
it's been for me being new to the boat shop. I still feel like I'm pretty new. It's been really wonderful to see their impact and kind of share in their joy at the end of each day. It's nice to be able to be supportive in that way as well. So
Yeah.
thank you. Okay, so this is going to be available to any of us on YouTube, and if for some reason you need any assistance with that, just feel free to reach out to me. Happy to help. And I can't thank you enough, Brittany. I love the behind the scenes, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here and making it possible for us to keep the speaker series going. So thank you so much, and we'll see you all soon. See
Take
you on
care.
Community Day. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.